I don't know if you guys know that song by Lucky Dube called Victims. Talking about Africa is always the victims. Well, it's always the case, I guess. But let me ask you this question though. Imagine that you had to work for like a big company, like one of the big tech companies that, are responsible for like most of your social media and things like that. And after doing some of the things that you're asked to do, when you get home, you cannot even enjoy fun times with your wife. Like you're so traumatized that you're not able to, like, the things that you enjoy doing with family, with your wife, all that stuff, you can't do it any longer. Imagine doing tedious jobs for 8 hours and you're being paid peanuts, $2 an hour. And imagine being evaluated by psychiatrists indicating that you have mental problems, all due to the job that tech companies have you doing. Imagine that. Well, that's the case for most people in Kenya.
Behind this technology.
We do not feel valued at all.
Far from the world's glitzy tech hubs, these data workers train AI systems by sifting through massive amounts of harmful data.
It gave me nightmares.
It tells you, explain to me, how does the flesh of a human taste like?
While they carry out the often grueling task of keeping AI systems clean, international corporations on the other side of the globe reap the profits.
So from the video, you can see that there's a whole bunch of things going on with tech companies that meets the ordinary eye. So now, what is happening is that in Kenya, due to the drastic unemployment rates in Kenya and the desperation to find work. Now, I love Kenya. I've been to Kenya. I want to go back to Kenya. Great people, great country. Kenya is actually the tech capital of East Africa because there's so much tech things going on over there. But what is happening is that most of these tech companies are employing Kenyan citizens and not paying them accordingly. Imagine going to work, like working, and you're doing tedious stuff. Now, some of the things that these people do is that, like to make your AI recognize things. I mean, there's no way all these robots and things can do things by themselves. Humans have to actually teach them how to do these things, how to differentiate with color, what is black, what is white, what is purple, what is gold, what is furniture. When someone has an aneurysm in their brain, how to detect it, how to detect a bed in a house, like various things. So these are some of the jobs that most of these tech companies hire people in Kenya to do. And I believe that this happens in other countries as well. But the focus is Kenya. So they hire these people to do these jobs and they spend hours analyzing, circling, finding things, making sure that AIs recognize things accordingly, making them work well with human beings. And the thing is that when they advertise this job, some of them, they're like called interpretation jobs. They like make it fancy, just like they do in every job. But when these people get there, their work is actually much more tedious than what it's supposed to be. And because most of the time they are desperate, they prey on their desperation and they still do these jobs and they are paid peanuts. They are paid basically like $2 an hour, and that is even, I believe, before taxes. So their take home is basically like in the cents. And the justification for this, for most of these companies, is that the cost of living is lower. So what they are paying them is actually what it's supposed to be. And I think this is bull crap. That is not true, right? So most of the time, these people find themselves in these situations and they can't do nothing about it. So this is what has been going on in Kenya and various parts of the world. And it's been termed the modern day slavery in Africa because people are literally doing things they are not supposed to, things that they want to, like things that they should be doing to earn better living, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. They're living in drastic situations. And while doing this, they're also, having to deal with the trauma, the mental like mental situations, because most of the time some of these jobs involves them looking at like very, very drastic pictures of like suicidal events, body parts, animal parts, various ill sexual contents that they have to like decipher and look at to make sure the robots, the AIs recognize this from that. And when they are done doing these jobs, man, their lives are no longer the same, but the compensation is not even worth the job.
Describe cannibalism. You have to put yourself in the shoes of the chatbot and chat with it in that topic that you have been given.
So the question becomes now, what is to blame for all these things happening? Like, why is it that most of these companies find Africa as the place, or other developing nations as the place to kind of like do this illegal, crazy stuff? Is it that the governments are not doing their job? And I believe that most of the labor laws in most African countries is outdated, actually. I mean, nobody foresee the time when people will be working in cybersecurity, AI, working, chat GPT, all that kind of stuff. So I think there needs to be a call for like updating most of these labor laws and labor codes, so that when these international corporations come in, they have to abide by various regulations that helps the population to benefit. And I also think that even if the living expenses are much, much smaller, I think that if you're doing the same job as somebody in the US, you should be compensated the same, because it's the same job you're doing. I mean, it's not your fault that living expenses are cheaper where you are. I don't think that's like a justification for companies to like pay you less because your living expenses are way less. I mean, you can decide to go and buy a mansion, right? And live way above your means. So just because your living expenses are less, I don't think it's a justification for people to pay you less. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. And also, I think that although most times a lot of presidents, like I know, for example, in Kenya, the presidents have a mandate to provide a certain level of employment before they leave office, which makes them want all these tech companies to come in and provide jobs. But the thing is that what is the quality of these jobs? That is the main question. Are these quality jobs for the citizens? Are these jobs sustainable? Like most of these jobs that they're doing, I don't think is sustainable. And also, there's also the fraudulent aspect of these things as well. Like I've heard situations whereby people sign up on these websites and they do the jobs, and when it's time for them to get paid, most of these websites shut down, which is crazy. And because a lot of times internet connections in these countries are not very stable, these companies take advantage of those things and they shut down, and there is no recourse for these people. Crazy. Another interesting thing is that now most of your big tech companies like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Meta, Microsoft, etc., they're not the ones directly involved in these things, like you must have heard in one of the videos. Like, however, they outsource this to other companies. So other companies get these contracts and they then employ people. So even the money, so for example, Facebook might give say this job is worth $15 an hour. When they outsource this to these other companies will now give a much, much lower wage. For example, $2, $5, and they'll reap from the profit that was budgeted for the role, which is crazy to me. So I think that governments in Africa needs to do something about this. There needs to be revision of labor codes. There needs to be some kind of a call to action to make sure that people who are subject to this, because it's not their fault, unemployment is really, really there's no jobs in most of these countries. People read master's degrees, PhDs, and they're looking for jobs. So they are desperate to feed their families. And just because they are desperate doesn't mean that people should take advantage of them, right? So I think there needs to be a call to action. I don't know what you guys think. Where are my Kenyans at? I mean, have you experienced this before? What is the situation? And I understand that most of the people who are on this video, and again, shout out to 60 Minutes. They were the ones that this video is from. I don't know if most of them, I understand they went to court. I don't know if they won the case or not, but it'd be interesting to know whether or not they won the case. So if you're seeing this video and you know something about this on ground, please comment. And as always, subscribe to the channel, and I'll keep bringing to you more interesting things from around everywhere. Full chest, Prince.